Okay. The webinar is about becoming a successful innovator. This is the first of what may 3, 4, or 5 different webinars we may be running over the next year. So I'm delighted to have you here at our launch party at some level. Again, my name is Laszlo Gyorffy, and for all intents and purposes, I'm your expert and your facilitator, and I will be guiding you through this webinar, but I am not doing it alone. I have Lindsay, who is keeping the technology running and the Q&A flowing. She is from IdeaScale, and she's one of their crack staff members. IdeaScale has been a terrific partner of ours in innovation projects for the last few years, and they have agreed to be a real help in setting up this webinar and facilitating for me. All right, let's get started. I'm the president of the Enterprise Development Group, and we are a consulting and training firm headquartered in Silicon Valley. We've been helping our clients around the world expand the possible for over 25 years. We specialize in innovation strategy and best practices, organizational design, and leadership development. We've written numerous books on these topics, some of which I will be borrowing from today. As you can see, one of them is actually called CoStar, Creating Value. We work with some of the best companies in the world that have led their way in their industries and leaders who are committed to continuing their success. And I'm excited about sharing the things we've learned over the years to both help entrepreneurs launch new business ideas, or to help employees develop bold new ideas to create value for their organization or for their customers. As you can see, we've worked in lots of different industries. As you've gotten a feel from my introduction so far, we are located in Silicon Valley. That's where my office is just 1.5 miles from Stanford University, where 1 in 10 students will launch a startup from their dorm room before graduation. The Valley is a remarkable place, and certainly that is one of the examples of it. We all know about the Googles and the Facebooks and Twitters and the rest. But this is not about me. This session is actually about you and your brilliant ideas, and it's about launching and leading these brilliant ideas. I highlight leading because without your willingness to champion your idea, it won't get implemented. Ask yourself, has anything remarkable been created by mankind without someone taking responsibility for its success? The answer is no, it just doesn't happen. While your idea may not change the world, it's important to note that creating something new is not easy. Incremental improvements are often trouble-free, but bigger ideas take more work, which is why I mentioned launch. I mentioned launch, and I'd like you to consider the notion of Mach 37 as a metaphor. Mach 37 refers to the escape velocity. It's the minimum velocity a rocket needs in order to escape Earth's gravitational field. Like with your idea, you will need to push past forces that inherently resist change and implementation. So here's a place that many people find themselves and often derail the process right from the beginning. They have a creative spark, but are not sure how to proceed in an efficient manner. The good news is we have a simple and powerful process that can help the first timer as well as the seasoned innovator realize their ideas. Our 3-step process, which is boosted by our unique innovation methodology, CoStar, is a big help. Each of the 3 steps represents a webinar with a unique set of insights and techniques that build upon one another and are best completed in this order. You'll be learning a disciplined approach to value creation. This is a skill set that will serve you in your career, no matter what direction you choose. As I often say, the people who know how to create value are some of the most valuable people in the world. All right, so let's quickly review the topics I'll be presenting in today's webinar. We will explore the dynamics and the demands of championing bold new ideas. We will clarify key innovation definitions and steps for creating new business value. We'll identify the essential elements of a CoStar value proposition and discover how to turn your initial ideas into a powerful CoStar. But having great ideas is not good enough. What is often missing is the execution, and having a few helpful tools and understanding the innovator's journey can be a difference maker. Whether you're an engineer with an exciting technology breakthrough, or a taxi driver with a new mobile app concept, or an entrepreneurial icon like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, there are a few fundamental truths you should know about the practice of innovation. The first is value creation. Innovation is more than a flash of inspiration or creative thinking. It's about creating value through the implementation of new ideas. Innovation requires you actually fulfill unmet needs. Then there's the iteration element. No matter how smart you are, your idea is never right the first time. In order to ensure success, you must continue to evolve your thinking based on the idea and the data you collect and the feedback you receive. There's also a collaborative element. No one does it alone. At some point, you will need assistance of people with expertise, influence, and resources to assist you in developing and implementing your idea. And finally, communication. You must be able to clearly communicate the powerful and the potentialness of your idea to generate interest and support. A great idea, poorly explained, ceases to appear great. So those four pieces, value creation, iteration, collaboration, communication, are all central to your journey. Today, we're going to largely be focusing on the value creation element of it, but you will see the foundations of CoStar can help you with every single one of those other pieces. All right, let's do one key definition before I get into CoStar specifically, because it's important to be able to tease out the difference between these three words that are often used interchangeably: creativity, invention, and innovation. What is the definition for those? If you have any suggestions, you might be able to put them in the chat at the moment. Put them into the chat session. But I'm also going to push forward and give you my distinction between the three. So first of all, creativity is thinking something different. Invention is doing or producing something different. And innovation is about making a difference. It is all three of those things, and you can see there's a bit of a journey. And when I show you sort of my ultimate definition of innovation about people creating value through the implementation of new ideas, you can see it's almost applied creativity. But there has to be an output that actually creates value at the end of the day. It has to make a difference in the world. So how do you go about ensuring that your idea is of value? Well, it certainly helps to have a value proposition. And CoStar is the tool that guides our thinking around this. It's a method that's been used and developed to help bold ideas and breakthroughs in countries around the world. And yet it is a simple framework to use, and I will show you shortly. It provides a way of crystallizing your thinking and is also a vehicle for collaboration with others to enhance the value of your idea. It's easy to use and a basic discipline for value creation. It allows for quick and focused evaluation and exchange of helpful opinions. It establishes the critical components of a business proposal right from the very beginning, and it shapes a winning pitch for funders or resources for approval as you go forward with your idea. So what is CoStar? Well, it's an acronym, and each letter represents a key question. So for example, the C stands for who are the intended customers and what is their important unmet need that you're going to address with your solution. The O stands for the opportunity. What is the full potential of the opportunity? The S is what is your proposed solution for capturing this opportunity? The T is for team. Who needs to be on the team to ensure the solution's success? A is for advantage. What is your solution's competitive advantage over the alternatives? And R, what results will be achieved for your solution? I'm going to take you down into each of those elements and give you an example so you can get comfortable with the concept. But hopefully you can see it's relatively straightforward. And if you had a chance to download the CoStar template, now would be great to take advantage of it. If you've already done it, you might want to pull it up now because you could take some notes, and if you're working on an actual idea, you could start filling in some of your CoStar template as we go through the rest of the webinar. All right, so where do we start? And it's also some sense where we end, the customer. To look and understand and meet their needs is absolutely central. And understanding the customer, whether you're talking about sort of the general public, like these teenagers, or you're considering targeting business solutions, so you have a B2B idea, or whether you're focused on a government agency. No matter any of those, whoever you're targeting, even internal customers in your own organization, understanding the distinguishing characteristics and motivations are essential. The customer is so key. Let me just show you a playful little video that will even provide an even richer insight into how I think about the customer and how you can as you develop your ideas together.
The letter C in CoStar stands for customer. The customer is at the heart of every successful business idea. That's why the CoStar method starts with the question, who is your target customer? Think about whether you want to address private or business customers, or both. Who will pay for your product or service idea? Try to put yourself in your customer's shoes and describe their situation as precisely as possible. The better you know your customer, their problems and needs, the easier it is to estimate the potential of your idea. Therefore, keep the following points in mind. Avoid generalizations. Your business customers are not just an SME, but rather they operate in a particular sector or of a certain size, operate regionally, nationally, or internationally. Include demographic information when creating a profile for target customers. For example, age, gender, place of residence, and educational background. Define your primary target group. During the first phase, focus on the customers with the greatest potential. A clear focus is the key to success. Think about the needs your customers have, which you can fulfill, or the problems they have that you can solve. For example, the customer doesn't have enough time to do X, Y, or the customer is deeply interested in Z. Observe your customer's behavior, conduct interviews with potential customers, analyze statistics, and use the internet to do some research. Adjust your business solution to focus on your customer and their unmet needs. The C in CoStar.
Well, I hope that video provided some insights about how to think about the customer. Let me offer one last tip. And this has to do with reframing a little bit your perspective around the customer by asking, what is the problem you are solving for your customer? This gets you to explore their unmet needs, but shifts the focus from sort of selling the drill to asking the question, what type of hole does the customer want? It helps you avoid the tech push that is often seen as one of the big problems. Understanding whether your idea is really going to be of value to your customer is essential. And so having a bit of empathy and understanding what their true problem is one of the most effective ways to determine whether your idea is going to be a success in the long run. All right, let's hit some of the other elements in the CoStar. With regard to opportunity, consider the size and growth of the market, specifically the customer segment you're targeting. Discuss relevant trends, technology, social, economic, political, environmental, and how your idea might play into them. Address a sense of urgency. Are you working on an important customer need that people are currently feeling the pressure to meet? This is what gives you a sense of how big the opportunity is. And that is absolutely critical. If you're pitching your idea for example, to a venture capitalist, they would look for these things, and in this order. They would look for opportunity, the team, and then a solution with a sustainable competitive advantage. Or as my friend playfully puts it, the VCs want a big-ass market, a smart-ass team, and a kick-ass idea. And part of the logic is if you're wrong by 0-2 with your opportunity space, they can still get their money back. So not only figuring out whether your idea is going to be a fit for the customer, but how big it is and how many customers are there are critical to developing your full value proposition. All right, so now we finally get to the fun part, your brilliant idea. Here's where you make a first pass and articulate what the solution is you're proposing. What are the key functions, features, input, outputs? What new technologies or intellectual property incorporated into your solution if you have those kind of elements to it? Later on, you can make a second pass and begin exploring business model and how your solution fits into a larger ecosystem or into your own company's mission or business strategy. Well, for right now, you're just trying to see whether your solution is a good fit for that customer opportunity. The team, what are the skills and expertise needed in order to successfully develop and implement your solution? What internal or external partners might be required? Advantage, what is the sort of competitive landscape? What offerings or alternatives are already out there? And why is your solution better than those? There are many ways to solve a problem. Why is yours superior? And you might even push yourself and ask the question, what are the most important advantages from a customer or buyer's perspective? What are they going to care the most about? Again, we don't want to lose track of our customers. We develop a value proposition for them from your idea. I'd also point out that competition, you may have direct competitors or indirect competitors, such as this example. When Herb Kelleher was first conceiving of Southwest Airlines, they recognized that actually, as they looked at their golden triangle between Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, the issue wasn't could they come up with an airline that was cheaper, but they realized they had to compete with cars, buses, and trains, so that not only had to be cheaper, but also quicker and incredibly efficient. So they had a very high standard for beating out the competition. And then finally, we get the results. This usually has two elements to it. What are the benefits back to your customer, and what are the returns back to the organization or investors or sponsors? You've got to be able to answer both of those questions. Hopefully that gave you a feel for CoStar, and you start getting an idea about its potential, because it brings clarity. And imagine spreading that clarity. What if everyone in your team, division, or organization was accomplished at developing ideas that created value, much like Michelangelo was able to see the angel and the marble? The other thing CoStar does is it helps minimize risk. I mean, by definition, innovation is risky. If we already knew what worked, it would not be innovation. By having a systematic approach to surfacing and addressing risks, you can dramatically increase your chance of success. So let me show you a quick example of what an early stage value proposition looked like, so you can get a feel for the kinds of things you might be writing up regarding your own idea. Here's a novel approach to enhancing car navigation systems called the virtual cable. Simple, safe, and intuitive, they say. It makes navigation easy. You simply follow the guided line above the road all the way to your final destination. So what would a first pass value proposition look like? Please read along. Here's the customer and the opportunity. Just a few bullets. It's short and to the point to get started. How about the solution and even the team? Again, in this first pass, we don't have to have huge amounts of detail. In fact, answering all 6 questions, making a first initial pass, is really much more effective than drilling down into tremendous detail in any one of the areas. Here's the advantage and the results. You're probably starting to get a feel for the benefits of this. And the final bit of results. And it's very cool. It works at night. So that's a good start. So the question becomes, how can we make it even better? What is needed to take this CoStar to the next level? Quantification is one area definitely needing improvement when you think about the CoStar you just read. We need to know how much better, how much faster, and how much cheaper. Not just better, faster, and cheaper. You have to be able to answer those questions. Quantification is critical to defining success, calculating return, reducing risk, and limiting subjectivity. It's about learning, it's about leaning in versus leaning out. If you are able to declare that 90% of the customers you interviewed said they wanted your approach, then everyone will lean in and begin to work with you on how do we make this happen. Quantification in the form of customer data, for example, can change the entire tone and dynamics of a conversation. For example, just look at the impact the right numbers had on this Zappos.com pitch that was made. Nick Schwimmen approached Shay and Lynn with this idea of selling shoes online. These guys were pretty skeptical when they first heard the Zappos pitch. until they happened to mention that of the $40 billion market, 5% was already being sold by paper-ordered catalogs. Until they heard that the customer data for magazine catalogs, they were skeptical that anyone would buy shoes they had not tried on. But this little bit of quantification totally convinced them. 2 months later, Shea joined Zappos as the CEO. How's that for getting convinced? And has since doubled revenue every year since 2000. And eventually they were acquired by Amazon for $1.2 billion in 2009. All right, so how do people typically start? Usually people begin with their great idea, right? You start with a giant S. And then the work is to develop the C, the O, the T, and the R to fill out your value proposition to make it complete and so that it will stand up to the rigors of your thinking and your practice as you communicate it and test it in the marketplace. But this is where our approach differentiates CoStar from a typical marketing value proposition, because the goal is to create compelling value and not just polish your message. Based on what you learn as you develop and research your CoStar, you may have to change your solution significantly. So you may start with an original S, but you may find yourself in a very different place. I sometimes think about it like origami. Your S is that initial sheet of paper offering great potential. But then you have to fold it into something that the market really wants. Here's another dynamic to consider. You can go in either direction. You can start with a market need, right? What does this market really want? That is a CO. That is a customer opportunity you could pursue and generate lots of ideas to go after it. Or you can start the other way around, as we've been talking, where you've got, hey, a brilliant idea. You've had an aha moment about what could be done. And then you got to determine whether the CO is a good fit for your idea. But at some point, the CO and the star need to come together for your idea to be successful in the long run. I'd like to wrap up with a few quick tips. By writing down your answers to the CoStar questions, you have passed the first test of commitment. And in fact, you've increased your motivation. Studies show that a goal-oriented species like we are, we tend to act on the things we've written down and committed to. So you get greater clarity and enthusiasm by writing it down. I've said before, I think the best way to write a CoStar is to start out by taking on all 6 ideas once over lightly, rather than drilling down to any one in depth. It gives you a feel for the overall potential of your idea. I would also say, don't worry about getting your CoStar perfect right from the start. It's not possible. As you learn more about your idea, you'll be able to add and refine to your value proposition. You also need to create different versions for different audiences. For example, a potential customer would need to see a different value proposition than a potential investor. We will touch on tailoring your CoStar in the next webinar when we focus on pitching. And finally, I really encourage you to have a significant competitive advantage. There are other people in the marketplace with challenging, great new ideas coming up all the time, as well as if you're going to ask people to change behavior or brands, you need to have a pretty good reason for why they should do so. If you're working on a really big, bold, creative idea, you may have to do more than just a value proposition. You may find yourself having to develop a pitch. You may have to find yourself creating a prototype and putting together a proof of concept plan, and finally some sort of funding proposal at the back end of the day. It really depends on your idea and the level of investment required. If there's lots of investment, you may have a more rigorous process. If the idea requires minor investment, then it may be a very quick and short CoStar process. But every idea requiring investment should have a value proposition. And finally, I'd like to add my own spin on Steve Jobs' insightful quote. I want you to follow your passion and use these webinars to lead you to success. I encourage you to join us for the pitching seminar, which is next in our Becoming a Successful Innovator series. And finally, if you could, before you run off, if you might let us know how valuable you found the webinar. It was a quick half hour, so I hope I infused you with some good, rich content. But it would be wonderful if we could post the poll and get people's feedback about how valuable they found their experience. So on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very low, I wish I'd done something else with my morning or afternoon. And 5 being great start, learned a lot about CoStar, already has me kind of thinking about my ideas in a slightly different way and is bringing a discipline to the approach I have about innovation. So 5, highly valuable, 1, not so valuable. And for those of you who need to rush off, thanks for joining us. I hope you found the webinar helpful, and I wish you all the good luck in the world with your innovation efforts. And if any of you have questions, please stick around and submit them to Lindsay. We will do our best to provide some answers. Thank you very much.